बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा। Jai Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parvadaksha Ashtuta Sahasriti Samadhi Swayam Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय। ISKCON संस्थापक आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभुदक्ष अष्टोत्तर सदाशिव श्रीमती स्वयं ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद श्रील करुण केशवदास बाबा महाराज की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्रील भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास पाद महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ षट गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमोचर्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कुल वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथ श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन पद्मा गुरुवंद की जय। समावित भक्त वृंद की जय। गौरव प्रेमानंद Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled. So all glories to the assembled. So all glories to the assembled ones. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamati Rahe. नष्टप्रायेषु पत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिः। Hare Krishna, welcome to the Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 15, text number 3. ऋषय ऊचुः एष विष्णुर्भगवतः कलापुवनपालिनी इयं च लक्ष्म्या सम्भूतिः पुरुषस्यान पाहि पाहिनी। ट्रांसलेशन चले पापा की जय। The great sages said the male is a plenary expansion of the power of Lord Vishnu, who maintains the entire universe, and the female is a plenary portion of the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from the Lord. The significance of the goddess of fortunes never being separated from the Lord is clearly mentioned herein. People in the material world are very fond of the goddess of fortune, and they want her favor in the form of riches. They should know, however, that the goddess of fortune is inseparable from Lord Vishnu. Materialists should understand that the goddess of fortune should be worshipped along with Lord Vishnu and should not be regarded separately. Materialists seeking the favor of the goddess of fortune must worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi together to maintain material opulence. If a materialist follows the policy of Ravana, who wanted to separate Sita from Lord Ramachandra, the process of separation will vanquish him. Those who are very rich and have taken favor of the goddess of fortune in this world must engage their money in the service of the Lord. In this way, they can continue in their opulent position without disturbance. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tadati Siva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kapasnubhya Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Asadi Gaura Bhaktavedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Moha Karadu Vachalam Gurumate Devimet Pada Muhammad Shri Guru Grantabnam Paramananda Madam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Namo Vishnupada Krishna Prasada Bhutale Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauruvani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarne Father Krishna Prasada Hare Krishna. So welcome you all to this class. So today we connect to the background of the previous verses. So the sages killed King Vena because he was a very mischievous ruler. And by reciting some mantras and churning the thighs, came out a black personality, short and very ugly person, whose name was Bahuka. So Bahuka was actually he's a person in whom all the sinful reactions of King Vena's body were taken out. So that's how Bahuka came out. And then he asked what he should be done. Then the sages churned the two arms of uh, King Vena. Then in the process came out two personalities, and one was a male and the other one was a female. So the great sages then identified that the male is none other than a plenary expansion of the power of Lord Vishnu, who maintains the entire universe, and the female is a plenary expansion of the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from the Lord. So we take some important points from the purport and translation today in this class. The most important thing is uh, the Lord has got many incarnations, hundreds and thousands of incarnations. Many are Vishnu Tattvas, many may not be Vishnu Tattvas, but some are empowered incarnations. Empowered means they are also called Shakti Avesa Avtaras. The Lord empowers a suitable jiva and who appears in this material world for a specific purpose. For example, Parashurama was an empowered incarnation of the Lord. He's a jiva, but when their things became very notorious, Parashurama appeared and he killed 21 generations of their atheistic rulers and freed the world from such notorious people. So similarly, here we see that Prithu Maharaj is a living entity or a jiva, and he appears as a Shakti Avesa Avatar or a plenary portion of the Lord. He is not a Vishnu Tattva, but with a particular purpose, the Lord appears in a jiva to execute a certain mission. So, and also, whenever the Lord appears, the Lord does not appear alone. He appears with his consorts and so forth. So here, along with Prithu Maharaj, his consort, who in the name of Archi, also appears. So the sages could identify that Prithu Maharaj and Archi have appeared together. And the most important point in today's verse is that the Lord is never worshipped alone. The Lord is never separated from his devotees. And in this case, the Lord has appeared with Archi as his consort. So the most important point is that the Lord is never separated from his consorts. At the most, there may be cases, for example, devotees worship the Lord as Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayana or Lakshmi Narasimha and so forth. But the Lord is always worshipped with his consort, eternal consort, not alone. Nobody worships the Lord as Krishna alone. At the most, many times we see that people worship the Lord along, at least with a cow. Cow is a dear devotee to Lord, so they worship uh, Krishna with a cow. But the highest mode of worship is worship with the Lord's consort. So even in the case of Lord Rama, he's always worshipped as Sita Rama. And then, of course, his expansions as his Lakshmana and Hanuman. So the Lord appears with his associates and also with his devotees. This is the most important point. Some aspects of it we will discuss. Lord appeared as a plenary expansion. So also, Goddess of Fortune did not appear directly, but she appeared as one of the plenary portions, empowered ones in the form of Archi. And both of them, they performed their mission because when Prithu Maharaj appeared, we will see in the further slokas that there was a scarcity of grains in the earth, and finally he was chasing Mother Earth in the form of a cow, and finally she says that the grains and other outputs have been stolen and the miscreants have hoarding it, and therefore there is a shortage, and then there is a big pastime and so forth, which we'll not discuss today. So Prithu Maharaj appeared for this to execute righteous principles for which the Lord always appears, and then after he performs his pastimes, he winds up. So along with him, Queen Archie also appears. She is also an empowered incarnation of the goddess of fortune. Now we must understand who is the goddess of fortune, which is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Goddess of fortune is none other than an energy of the Supreme Lord, and she is never separated from the Lord. Generally, we see that people worship the goddess of fortune for trying to get a lot of wealth. But then what happens is that Shastras say that she should, whatever opulence, of course, goddess of fortune means she is the one who has control over the fortune. That is why she is known as goddess of fortune. But whatever opulence that she is able to give to any living entity, that also is given by the sanction of the Supreme Lord only. But people worship her for getting a particular material opulence, and then over a period of time, they see that the material opulence is lost. So we will go through some of the examples of quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam itself, why Lakshmi doesn't stay in many houses. That's why Lakshmi is also called Chanchala. Chanchala means who is does she has got her own devotees also. Those who worship her for material opulence, they are her devotees. But she doesn't stay in that house for a very long time. And the example that Srila Prabhupada gives us here in the purport is that is Ravana mentality. Ravana wanted Sita Devi, who is also an expansion of the goddess of fortune, but he did not want Lord Rama. So similarly, those who worship the goddess of fortune only for material opulence, they don't want her consort, without whose sanction she cannot. But somehow, sometimes she also wants to please her devotees. Uh, uh, so, uh, sh- 1 second, I got a message. Yeah. So sometimes she wants to please her devotees, so she tries to please. But then over a period of time, she doesn't stay in that house. That's why she's called Chanchala. So there are some quotes in Srimad Bhagavatam. We will discuss these quotes and maybe one or two pastimes. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it mentioned that the money which is accumulated is the wealth of the Lord. Wealth is considered to be the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and the Lord is Narayana, or the husband of Lakshmi. Try to engage Lakshmi in the service of Lord Narayana and be happy. So, whatever wealth one gets, if they utilize that in the service of Lakshmi Narayana, then the Lakshmi stays in that house and they can be happy. Then another quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, which says, Lakshmi ji, the goddess of fortune, whose glaze of glance was sought by demigods like Brahma, and for whom they surrendered many a day unto the personality of Godhead, gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers and engaged herself in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. I was endowed with specific powers to supersede the fortune of all the three planetary systems by being decorated with the impressions of the black thunderbolt and so forth, which are the signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left me. So this is a quote by the devotees of the Lord, that even Lord Brahma, who is the creator of this universe, he is also seeking the mercy of God, the goddess of fortune, to be opulent. So she gives that opulence, but Brahma is being a great devotee of the Lord. He knows very well that this is given by the Lord himself, and he utilizes it in the service of the Lord. Then the same first canto, there's a quote which says, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva are engaged in the worship of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda, Lord Krishna, to be factually called the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are not independently powerful. They are powerful as expansions of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and so also are the living entities. So from here we must understand the goddess of fortune herself, plus great demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they are all engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. So Vishnu is an expansion of Lord Krishna. We will not discuss on the subject today. It's a deep subject. So they cannot become more powerful than Lord Krishna. That means all the demigods, including the goddess of fortune, cannot become more powerful than Lord Krishna. So they are all powerful only as long as they are engaged in the loving service of the Lord, as much as all the living entities. So living entities like us are called conditioned souls or maybe sadhakas. But whatever power we get, whether we use it materially or spiritually, they are all given by the Supreme Lord Himself. We are not independent of the Supreme Lord, and so also none of the demigods are independent of the Lord. Similarly, the goddess of fortune is also not independent of the Lord. Then there is a quote in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam which says, especially for the householder devotees, the path of deity worship is strongly recommended. As far as possible, every householder, by the direction of the spiritual master, must install the deity of Vishnu forms like Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayana, or Sita Rama, especially, or any other form of the Lord like Narsimha, Varaha, Gauranitai, Matsya, Kurma, Shalikram Shila, and many other forms of Vishnu. like Trivikrama, Keshnama, Achyuta, Vasudeva, Narayana, and Damodara as recommended the Vaishnava Tantras or Puranas. And one's family should worship strictly following the directions and regulations of Archana Vidhi. Any member of the family who is above 12 years of age should be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, and all the members of the household should be engaged in the daily service of the Lord beginning from morning 4 a.m. till night 10 p.m. by performing Mangalartika, Niranjana, uh, Archana, Puja, Kirtana, and so forth. Engagement in such worship of the deity under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master will greatly help the householders to purify their very existence and make rapid progress in the spiritual knowledge. So, one point here is that there are innumerable planets in the spiritual world, not one or two, innumerable planets, and the presiding deity in each of them are expansions of Lord Krishna. For example, Goloka is dominated by Radha Krishna. Then many Vaikuntha planets are there where the predominant deities are Lakshmi Narayana, or there may be Lakshmi Narasimha. So that way, the goddess of fortune are unlimited in numbers. It is not one goddess of fortune. Of course, they are given under 8 classifications, but then there is not one goddess of fortune, and each uh, uh, form of Narayana is served by goddess Lakshmi in the innumerable spiritual planets. So Lakshmi is not alone or independent of any of these her consorts like Narayana or Narsimha or so and so forth. So the Lord is always with his consort. This is one important thing. And those who are grihasthas, it is recommended that they have a deities in their home. That is the way for purification for the grihasthas. Otherwise, in the exteriors, people used to go to the temple. And in Kali Yuga, the temple worship is difficult. So it is recommended that they should have a deity at home, which becomes a personal expansion of the presiding deities in the temple to which they are connected. So when they serve these deities at home, the Lord in the temple also is as good as the Lord accepting the worship. So, but these deities are also worshipped as the Lord and her and his supreme consort. Uh, then there's a quote in the second canto where it said that Brahma also described the highest planet of Vaikuntha Loka as Goloka Vrindavana, which I mentioned, where the Lord resides as a cowherd boy, keeping transcendental Surabhi cows. So the cows are also very dear devotees of the Lord, and they are all transcendental Surabhi cows, which give unlimited amount of milk, and surrounded by hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune. So Lord Krishna is also surrounded by hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune, which Brahma himself admits in Brahma Samhita. Chintamani prakarasatma sugalpa vriksha laksha vrideswara dhira pipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Sambramisepi Manam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That means the Lord is served by Lakshmi Sahasra. That means hundreds and thousands of goddess of fortune are serving the Supreme Lord Krishna. Yeah. Next quote is in third canto, which says that in the Vaikuntha planets, the goddess of fortune are faultless. Generally, the goddess of fortune does not remain steady in one place. Her name is Chanchala, which means that one who is not steady. That means, like I mentioned in the beginning of the class, the goddess of fortune does not stay in one place. Then Sri Prabhupada mentions that therefore, that a man who is very rich may become the poorest of the poor. And another example is Ravana. Ravana took Lakshmi, that is Sita, to his kingdom. And instead of being happy by the grace of Lakshmi, his family and his kingdom were vanquished. So this is a true example, correct example that we can get from Ramayana, that one should not try to exploit the wealth that is given by Lakshmi ji for one's sense gratification. Rather, everything should be utilized in the service of the Lord Krishna and his consorts. So, though Ravana kidnapped Sita, uh, finally what happened was Ravana became pauper in the end and he was killed. So one should not try to steal Lakshmi from her consort. Then there's a mention that men of Ravana class want Lakshmi only without her husband Narayana. Therefore, they become unsteady due to Lakshmi ji. Materialistic persons find fault on the part of Lakshmi, but in Vaikuntha, Lakshmi ji is fixed in the service of the Lord. That means wherever the Lord is there, Lakshmi ji is serving the Lord in various forms. And she, goddess of fortune, cannot be happy without the grace of the Lord. Just as we see in a house also, a wife can never be happy without her husband. So similarly, the goddess of fortune always needs the Lord's grace to be happy. But in the material world, even up to the demigod, great demigod like Brahma, they seek the favor of Lakshmi for happiness. But at some point or other, she leaves, where that is why she is called Chanchala. Uh, yes, another important quote from third canto. As the king of bees hovers over the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, so Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is sought by the demigods, Brahmanas, and Vaishnavas, and everyone always engages in rendering the service to the lotus feet of the Lord. I will come to this point a little in the next sloka. It says, all the demigods and other living entities worship Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, just to get her favor. But yet the Lord is never attached to her because he can create an unlimited number of such goddesses for his transcendental service. That means that's why in the beginning of the class I said the Lord is served by an unlimited number of Lakshmis. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is sometimes envious of the tulsi leaves which are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. We must understand this point. Tulsi is always placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. But still, Tulsi's position is much higher than the goddess of fortune. Tulsi is also an expansion from the goddess of fortune, which will come to a little later. Uh, the reason is that Tulsi leaves are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord and they remain fixed there and they do not move. Whereas Lakshmi, although stationed by the chest of the Lord, sometimes has to please other devotees who pray for her favor. Lakshmiji sometimes has to go to satisfy her numerous devotees, but Tulasi leaves never forsake their position. And the Lord therefore appreciates the service of Tulasi more than the service of Lakshmi. So Tulasi is more dear to the Lord than the goddess of fortune Lakshmi herself. When the Lord says, therefore, it is due to the costless mercy of the Brahmana that Lakshmiji does not leave him, we can understand that Lakshmiji is attracted by the opulence of the Lord, not by the Brahmana's benedictions upon him. The Lord is not dependent on anyone's mercy for his opulence. He is always self-sufficient. So from this, we can understand the position of Tulasi Devi is much higher than even the Lakshmiji, the goddess of fortune. In this third canto itself, quote that Hanumanji wanted to see the form of the Lord as the personality of Godhead Ramachandra, whereas other Vaishnavas want to see the form of Radha Krishna, and still others want to see the Lord in the form of Lakshmi Narayana. So it is very important that we associate Goddess of Fortune along with her consort, whether it is Narayana or Narsimha or Krishna. Yeah. In the third canto itself, there's a quote that in the Upanishad it is said that the various energies of the Lord are working to create, destroy, and maintain. These innumerable, inconceivable varieties of energy are stored at the bosom of the Lord. As people say, God is all powerful. That prowess is represented by Mahalakshmi, the reservoir of energies, who is situated on the bosom of the transcendent form of the Lord. That means whatever opulence that the Lord has got, it is represented by Mahalakshmi. So in Lakshmi also there are different classifications, Mahalakshmi, Matya Lakshmi, and so forth. So Mahalakshmi represents the opulence of the Lord himself. Sorry. Then there's a quote in fourth canto. An ideal husband and wife are generally called Lakshmi Narayana to compare them to the Lord and the goddess of fortune. for it is significant that Lakshmi Narayana are forever happy as husband and wife. A wife should always remain satisfied with her husband, and a husband should always remain satisfied with his wife. So the point is that Lakshmi Narayana are the perfect happy couple as God, Lord and Goddess of Fortune. And in a house, a husband should take the position of Narayana. When we say take the position of Narayana, is a representative of Narayana, and the wife is a representative of the Goddess of Fortune. So a wife should always be satisfied with her husband, and a husband should always be satisfied with his wife. In that condition, the husband and wife, both of them remain happy, which is very difficult these days because wife does not understand the position of her husband and the husband doesn't understand the position of wife. So Chanakya Pandita has given a very famous quote for this. The translation says, if a husband and wife are always satisfied with one another, then the goddess of fortune automatically comes. In other words, where there is no disagreement between husband and wife, all material opulence is present and good children are born. So the most important point is that if husband and wife stay at home as representatives of the Lord and his consort, just as they remain happy, then if the husband and wife respect each other's position and they also can be happy, and in such a house, Lakshmi comes in the form of opulence and she is present. And in that house, good children are born. Why today there is so much of chaos in the society? That is because people don't have any, people are more or less atheistic. If they are materialistic, also they want to worship only Lakshmi for her fortune, and she doesn't stay in such houses for long. And because there is always a discord between the husband and wife, we see that children are also highly disturbed. We must understand the importance of these points. Then there is a quote that in spite of the fact that Lord is served by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis, he is not at all attached to any of them. And the Lord is served by hundreds and thousands. The Lord is also called Atma Rama, that is self-sufficient. So he is served by so many goddess of fortunes. Actually, there are three classifications of the expansions. They all come from Srimati Radharani. She is the original goddess of fortune. That is mentioned in the next quote, which I mentioned from fourth canto. The Lord appears in a female form if necessary, but his perpetual form is Purusha because he is originally male. The feminine feature of the Lord is displayed by goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, Radharani, Sita, etc. And all these goddess of fortune are servitors of the Lord. They are not the supreme as falsely imagined by the impersonalists. And Lord Krishna in his Narayana feature is always four-handed. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna wanted to see his universal form, he showed this feature of four-handed Narayana. From this, we will understand Krishna is the original Purusha. Purusha means enjoyer. When we say that the Lord is enjoying, he doesn't enjoy like us. Our enjoyment is based on lust. But the Lord enjoys love from his consorts. And his consorts also serve him in that mood of love, not on lust like us. So when there is a need for the Lord to come in his feminine form, he appears in that form as either Lakshmi or Radharani or Sita. Now here, there is a mention Chaitanya Charitamrita that there are three classifications, three types of expansions that originate from Srimati Radharani. She is the original feminine form. We say Krishna is the original. Similarly, Radha is the origin of all feminine form. And from Srimati Radharani, there are three types of personalities who come. One is the goddess of fortune herself, who are in millions, hundreds, and thousands. Then the Lord has got his eternal wife who serve him in Dwarka. And the third classification is gopis. It is said that when the Lord was present, the Lord had more than 2 billion gopis who were serving him. So these are basic three forms of feminine form who appear when the Lord appears as Krishna. But gopis are serving only the two-handed form of Krishna. Whereas the others, like the consorts of the Lord or the wives of the Lord, they worship the Lord as four-handed form, Narayana or Narsimha, and so forth. So, but all are engaged in the service of the Lord only, not independently. Okay. Another important quote. Mother Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, is well known for always massaging the lotus feet of Lord Narayana. She is an ideal wife because she takes care of Lord Narayana in every detail. She takes care not only of his lotus feet, but of the household affairs of the Lord as well. She cooks nice foods for him, fans him while he eats, smooths sandalwood pulp on his face and sets his bed and sitting places in the right order. In this way, she is always engaged in the service of the Lord, and there is hardly any opportunity for any other devotee to intrude upon his daily activities. Prithu Maharaj was therefore almost certain that his intrusion into the service of the goddess of fortune would irritate her and cause her to become angry with him. So, uh, all the consorts of the Lord are always engaged in the service of the Lord. So, there is no question of that envy because they are always busy in serving the Lord. Okay, another important quote. One should strictly follow the Vaidhimarga regulative principles in the worship of Lakshmi Narayana. Although the Lord is present in the temple as Radha Krishna includes Lakshmi Narayana. Therefore, when one worships the Lord according to the regulative principles, the Lord accepts the service in the role of Lakshmi Narayana. That means even in our Sampradaya, though Radha Krishna form of worship is the highest, but when a sadhaka like us, following the regulative principles, worship the Lord as Radha Krishna, actually it is Lakshmi Narayana who accept our service. It is not Radha Krishna because Radha Krishna worship is the highest form of worship and it's a long process. Until then, Lakshmi Narayana is present in that deity and they take that worship from us because we are in the Vaidhi Marga, we follow based on rules and regulation. Whereas in Raga Marga, there is no question of offense. Now we have a tendency to commit a lot of offenses. So in Vaidhi Marga, we follow the regulative principles, and when we worship Radha Krishna also, it is basically Lakshmi Narayana who accept the worship. Okay, quote in the fifth canto, which says, riches come from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and the goddess of fortune is a property of Narayana, the supreme personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune cannot stay anywhere but by the side of Narayana. Therefore, another of her name is Chanchala, which I mentioned. She cannot be peaceful unless she is in the company of her husband Narayana. And the example again given is that Lakshmi was carried away by materialist Ravana. Ravana kidnapped Sita, the goddess of fortune belonging to Lord Rama. As a result, Ravana's entire family, opulence, and kingdom were smashed. And Sita, the goddess of fortune, was recovered from his clutches and reunited with Lord Rama. Thus, all properties, riches, and wealth belong to Krishna, which is stated in Bhagavad Gita also, where the Lord says, Bhaktaram Yajna Tapatam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the supreme enjoyer and no one else. Okay, one more important. We worship Lakshmi, in bracket Radharani, along with Narayana, who is Krishna himself. We collect money from various sources, but money does not belong to anyone but Radha and Krishna or Lakshmi Narayana. If money is utilized in the service of Lakshmi Narayana, the devotee automatically lives in an opulent way. However, if one wants to enjoy Lakshmi the way Ravana did, he will be vanquished by the laws of nature, and whatever few possessions he has will be taken away. This is why I mentioned that Lakshmi does not stay in the house of a materialist who want the goddess of fortune to give her only her fortune. In such cases, Lakshmi remains as a chanchala. She stays for some time and then leaves. There's also a very nice quote in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which mentions about four sampradayas, which are authorized as per Padma Purana. Brahma Sampradaya, which we are in. There is one Rudra Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva. There is a Kumara Sampradaya that is coming from the four Kumaras. And Lakshmi has got her own Sri Sampradaya. Now, these Sampradayas are authorized ones as per Padma Purana, from whom the knowledge of the Supreme Lord comes down from in disciplic succession. So we see in Sri Vaishnava, generally they are followers of this Lord as Narayana or Lakshmi Narayana and so forth. Generally, Sri Sampradaya worship these deities. So Sri Sampradaya is given by none other than Lakshmi Devi, and there are confidential religious systems that are practiced in these Sampradayas. Then let's skip some of them for want of time. Mother Lakshmi is extremely difficult to understand because she is so powerful that the jurisdiction of power is difficult to overcome. Mother Lakshmi is represented in the material world as the external energy, but actually she is always the internal energy of the Lord. So people worship Durga Devi again for material opulence, who is none other than representing Lakshmi in the material world. That is why it is called external energy, whereas Durga is external energy and Lakshmi is the internal energy of the Lord. Then there is a mention of a quote from Madhvacharya. This is also given. Vishnu is described as Yajna personified, and Mother Lakshmi is described as spiritual activities and the original form of worship. In fact, they represent spiritual activities and the super soul of all Yajna. So Lord Vishnu is the super soul even of Lakshmi Devi. So Lord is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, and is also present in the heart of Lakshmi Devi as the super soul of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Lord Vishnu is the super soul of everyone. Okay. There is a quote which is very important, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where we all know about the pastime of Bhrigu uh, Brahma, Shiva, and Bhrigu. There was a pastime in which Bhrigu, he came and there was this thing to decide who is the Supreme Lord. So Brahma performed this act mentally, Shiva performed by words. But in the case of Bhrigu, uh, he wanted to test the Lord himself. So he came and stamped on the chest of the Lord, and the Lord was not unhappy with him. Because the Lord was taking rest where he was lying there with his head on his wife's lap. So for Bhrigu to do this activity was worse than any other offense that Bhrigu could have imagined. Which Prabhupada comments, Vishnu is all merciful. He did not become angry at the activity of Bhrigu because Bhrigu was a great Brahmana. So a Brahmana is to be excused even if he sometimes commits an offense. And Lord Vishnu is the perfect example. But at that time, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, was not favorably disposed towards the Brahmanas. And that is the reason it is said that goddess of fortune does not give benedictions to the Brahmanas even today. So the Brahmanas are generally poor. So we see that Bhrigu stamped on the chest of Lord Narayana, and the goddess of fortune was personally present there. So she got upset on this, and then that is the reason that Brahmanas are very poor. It does not mean, but they are all devotees of the Lord. It's a quote in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Radharani is the source of all expansions of the goddess of fortune, which I mentioned. Lakshmi Devi herself, she serves the Lord She wanted to be one of the gopis in Vrindavana. The highest form of worship is by the gopis who serve the Lord eternally in that conjugal rasa. But seeing the type of mood of service by the gopis in Vrindavana, Lakshmi herself, she performed tapasya, but she did not get an opportunity to serve like the gopis. But Lord Krishna gave her a benediction. He said that he gave her a benediction by which she can remain in the Lord's chest in the form of a golden line. That is what Sri Vatsa. The Lord granted that request, and since then, Lakshmi is always situated on the chest of Narayana as golden line. But still, she was not given the opportunity like the way gopis serve. Then there are two pastimes. One pastime is about the gopis of Vrindavana. They were all devotees of Lord Krishna. So, with that pastime, the Lord wanted to show how the worship of Lord Krishna is higher than the form of Lord as Narayana. So, when the gopis were, when Krishna was performing his pastime with the gopis, one day he ran away from the midst of gopis, and the gopis started searching for him. So, when they came to a garden, they saw the Lord sitting in a four-handed form. So they knew that due to their yogamaya potency, they did not realize the Lord as Krishna, but rather when they saw the four-handed Narayana form, though there is no difference between Narayana and Krishna, they were always worshipping Lord Krishna as the supreme. So they asked Lord Narayana, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And then Lord Narayana directed them, and finally they were able to see Krishna. So the point is that gopis' form of worship is the highest. They worship the Lord as uh, Krishna. There are two pastimes before I conclude the class. I'll take you to the two pastimes. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, he went to Rameshwaram. He went on a tour of South India and he came to this place as Rameshwaram, which you all know. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a chance to read the Kurma Purana, from which he discovered that the form of Sita kidnapped by Ravana was not the real Sita, but a mere shadow representation. So in that there is a mention that uh, this Brahmana was so dear to Lord Ramachandra that unless and until he would see Lord Rama, he would always fast. Lord Rama sometimes goes about doing his kingly duties and so forth. So sometimes he goes out of his capital on these princely duties. Because of this, the Brahmana would take such an austerity that he won't take even a drop of water during that time. Later, after 8 or 9 days, when the Brahmana would see Ramachandra coming back to his kingdom, then he would break his fast. So when the Brahmana was observing such rigid vows, Lord Ramachandra, in fact, ordered the younger brother Lakshmana to deliver a pair of Sita Rama deities to the Brahmana. The Lord being pleased with the Brahmana service, he ordered Lakshmana to deliver a pair of Sita Rama deities to the Brahmana. The Brahmana received the deities from Lakshmanji and worshipped them faithfully as long as he lived. And after his death, he delivered the deities to Hanumanji, who for many years hung them around his neck and served them with all devotion. So when the Brahmana left his body, he gave the deities to Hanuman to put these deities on his neck, and he served them with a lot of devotion. Then after many years, when Hanumanji departed on the hill known as Gandhamadana, he delivered the deities to Bhimasena, one of the Pandavas. Bhimasena brought them to his palace, and where he kept them very carefully. And the last of the Pandavas, Shemakanta, worshipped the deities in that palace. Later, he the same deities were kept in the custody of the kings of Orissa, known as Gajapatis. And one of the acharyas, known as Narahari Tirtha, who was in disciplic section of Madhacharya, received those deities from the king of Orissa. So this is how the deities of Rama Sita were worshipped and coming in a parampara. Then there is one more pastime. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further went on a tour of South India. So he met a Brahmana. This Brahmana met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, invited the Lord to his home. So this Brahmana was a great devotee of Sita Rama, and he was always detached from material activities. So he invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home for lunch. And then Mahaprabhu went to take a bath in the holy river. And he came back. And at that time, he saw that the food was not prepared because the Brahmana had not cooked. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this and he told the Brahmana, "My dear sir, please tell me why you have not cooked. It is already noon." The Brahmana said, "My dear Lord, we are living in the forest. For the time being, we cannot get all the ingredients for cooking. When Lakshmana brings all the vegetables, fruits, and roots from the forest, Sita Devi will do the necessary cooking." So this is how the Brahmana replied that Lakshmana has to bring all the vegetables. I mean, he was so much absorbed in worshipping Rama Sita. He said that Lakshmana has to bring the vegetables and Sita Devi, when it comes, Sita Devi will do the cooking. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to hear the Brahmana's method of worship. And then finally, the Brahmana became into his original consciousness and he started to make cooking. And the Lord took his lunch at 3 o'clock, but the Brahmana somehow still fasted. When the Brahmana was fasting, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "Why are you fasting? Why are you so unhappy? Why are you so worried?" At that time, the Brahmana said, "I have no reason to live. I shall give up my life by entering either fire or water." That means Brahmana wanted to give up his life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, Brahmana said, uh, no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear sir, Mother Sita is the mother of the universe and the supreme goddess of fortune. She has been touched by the demon Ravana and I am troubled." No, here Brahmana says, "I have been touched by Ravana kidnapping Sita. Due to my unhappiness, I cannot continue living. So, and although my body is burning, my life is not leaving." Then Mahaprabhu replies, "Please do not think this way any longer. You are a learned Pandita. Why don't you consider this?" Mahaprabhu explained, Sita Devi, the dearmost wife of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra, has a spiritual form of bliss, and no one can see her with material eyes, for no materialist has such power. To say nothing of touching Mother Sita, a person with material senses cannot even see her. That means however one person may be advanced, a materialist cannot see the form of Sita Devi. Then he says, then as soon as Ravana arrived before Sita, she disappeared. Then just to cheat Ravana, she sent an illusory material form. That means Ravana did not capture the original form of Sita, but then she sent a material form and Ravana just touched her. The material form, not the original Sita Devi. And Mahaprabhu gave this quote from Kurma Purana. Then he said, "Have a faith in my words and do not burden your mind with innumerable." So when Mahaprabhu explained this way, the Brahmana had faith in Mahaprabhu and started accepting his prasadam. So this way, the Brahmana's life was saved. The point is that one should not worship Sita Devi alone. One should worship her, her consort, Rama. And similarly, those who worship Lakshmi, they should worship her with her consorts like Lakshmi Narayana, Lakshmi Narasimha, or the highest form of worship is Radha Krishna. With this, I conclude the class for the day. Anyone has got any questions or comments, they can ask me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam Prabhuji.
Danda Prabhu. Yes.
Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I missed some few classes, so like I was not in town. So could you help me, like to Maharaj, as you were explaining in the class, with the two hands, one male and one female came out.
Yes.
While chanting.
Okay.
From that one hand, the male which came out was Prithu Maharaj.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
I don't know whether you are aware of King Vena's pastime.
Yeah,
Okay.
King Vena. Yes, please.
King Anga was a great devotee of the Lord, but his son was King Vena, who was born as a cruel son. So since there was nobody, the rishis enthroned him. But a time came that he got puffed up and he said, "Everyone should worship me." And he stopped the sacrifices of the Brahmanas. So the rishis finally decided that the only way is to kill him, and they killed him by chanting mantras. And by killing him, they churned his thighs, from whom came a small dwarf called Bahuka. This Bahuka was this sin personified that came out of King Vena's body. That means whatever sinful reactions were there, it came out from King Vena's body in the form of Bahuka. Then Vena's body became pure because all the sinful reactions were taken off. Then they churned both the arms of uh, King Vena, and from that came out one was Prithu Maharaj and the other one was his wife. There
Yes,
is no
yes, Prabhuji.
mention as one hand Prithu Maharaj, hand his wife. They churned both
Mm.
the arms of King Vena, and from that came out Prithu Maharaj and his good wife Archi, who is an expansion of the goddess of fortune.
Mm. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you,
And we
Prabhu.
should worship, and we should always worship, as you said, Lakshmi Narayana and Sita, Rama, Sita, and we should always worship like that, Prabhuji, like not
Yes, yes,
individually. Yes,
not
individually.
individually.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay, okay.
In the worst cases, people should worship, at least even if it is Krishna, they should worship with him with a cow. Cow is a very dear devotee of Lord Krishna. Only in the case of Lord Krishna's worship.
And the
Because
prime is the Prabhuji, and the main Radha Krishna is the original, like they are
yes,
from there. All the expansions have started. So
correct,
when we
correct.
worship Radha and Krishna, they were worshiping every Narayana, Lakshmi, and everything. Yes,
Everyone,
yes,
all the incarnations of the Lord, we are worshipping. We worship Radha Krishna, we are worshipping all the incarnations of the Lord.
yes, 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 yes.
That includes Narayana worship, Narsimha worship, everyone. Rama
Thank you,
worship,
Prabhuji.
everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Hare,
Prabhu. Any other
Hare
question,
Krishna.
Prabhu?
No, no, Prabhuji. That's it. And when Prabhuji in Tirupati also Govinda is there, only single Govinda. Lakshmi
They
is there.
worship they worship
Uh,
Andal. Andal.
Pandal. Okay, okay, okay.
Andal, not Pandal. Andal, who
Andal,
is an
Andal.
expansion of Radharani. Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you,
They may
Prabhuji.
not be in the same place, but there's an altar where they worship, but they also worship not they don't worship Andal alone. But
Hmm.
they worship her as a consort of Lord Narayana.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Thank you all very much. Anybody else? Thank you all very much. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.